Okay. So let's just take a moment and sink into the room. If anyone has anything specific they'd like addressed or they'd like to have brought up, feel free to put it in the chat. And otherwise, we're just going to slow ourselves down. And just let ourselves unfold into this moment. Just let yourself expand into what is right here, right now. And it is an expansion. We spend our days contracted into ourselves, playing with stories on the screen of the mind and the body. And we have to let those go so that we can actually be present with something real. And when we find that something real, it's good news. Even if things happening in the contracted story are not good news, that something real that is there when we expand to what is actually present in this moment is good news. Because whatever's happening is sitting in a vast context. And the suffering that we experience around it is all part of our contracted interpretation. And when you let go of that interpretation, what's left is fine. What's left is just waves on the surface of a vast, peaceful ocean, even if the waves themselves do not appear peaceful. The basic nature that they are fulfilling is peaceful, relatively benevolent, certainly not out to get you. And all you have to do is dissolve into it to see it, to expand into this moment, to see what this moment actually contains. So slow yourself down. Give your attention to the forehead and crown. Let your eyes take in everything at once so that you can be with what's actually here. underneath the personality, you are pure, unadulterated awareness. Why don't you just let awareness look through your eyes, hear through your ears? Just let it come out to play. Let simple things be simple. Just let it be easy. It is easy. It's what's left when you stop pushing things in front of it. When you stop contracting against it, and you just let awareness look through your eyes, hear through your ears, feel through your skin. How long can you stay there? How long can you tolerate simplicity without contracting against it? Complexity is an addiction. It can build beautiful things, but you lose yourself in it. You build an identity within it that imprisons you. And then when it's time to let go of it and just be what you are, you find it difficult to let it go. You go days without letting it go.
Yep.
But here we are. So let it go. We have no need of it in this moment. You use it to manifest in this world. But without simplicity, the complexity even starts to lose its focus and meaning. It's like when somebody's trying to make a point. You need complexity to give it that form and that structure. But if it's too complex, no one gets the point. That simplicity is actually the power of comprehension. It's the power source. The complexity is just a container. We've gotten addicted to intricate containers, and we're losing our power because of it. It chokes it off, splits everything into a million little parts. The most brilliant plan is nothing compared to the person who looks in one direction and just keeps walking in that direction in a simple fashion. I mean, look at the people who build successful businesses. They're not usually your brightest friends. They're not usually the ones that even went to school, some of them. They're just people who set their sights on something and kept going. They can be optimized with a little complexity, but that's not the power that gets it done. You still have to have that simplicity of supply and demand. And without that, there's no power to light up the system. It's true of a business, but it's also true of your life. It's true of how you're going to feel in any given moment. Are you feeling choked off? You're identifying with too much complexity. You can drop it all and go into meditation. Or if there's something you have to do with all that complexity, but it's lost its power, you can reset. You just ask yourself, what was the purpose of this to begin with? What do I actually want that I've attached to this? And then let the simplicity of that answer reset you. Drop anything that's getting in the way. I had to edit somebody's paper yesterday. We've hired someone to do some writing for us. And they'd created something that was grammatically accurate, but the brain just didn't want to take any of it in. It was filled with parentheticals and clauses in the middle of other clauses and details that didn't need to be there. So the power of the message was lost. You go through and you just clean that up, simplify it. Straightforward sentences. And then suddenly you have something that flows effortlessly into the head of the reader. And it's powerful. The intent behind it spreads to anybody who looks at it. You need that in every moment of your life. Right now, a lot of us are identifying with the complexities that other people have created for the world that we're living in. And then trying to live out that complexity in our head when there's nothing that we're able to do in any given moment about it. You know, a few key moments where we can act, but the majority of them, there's nothing to do. And yet the moment feels so complex. Every moment. It's a world of people choking on unnecessary complexity right now. And on some level, it's always been. Can you let it go? can you write down what you're going to do about it when the moment comes to do something, and then let it go until that moment, so that when it's time to act, you actually have some energy, some goodwill, some power, some strength to actually take action effectively. Brain power to navigate the complexity of that moment. These are shamanic teachings on power economy. Your personal resources, your personal energy is not infinite. It matters how you spend it. The days of your life are not infinite. It matters how you spend them. If it feels like work, you better be getting some damn good work done. Growing in some important way. And then putting the complexity down several times a day so that you can recharge and remember who you are. The irony is, if you master simplicity, you're capable of far greater complexity than the common human. You can enter many different worlds and actually contribute to them. Science, spirituality, music, anything. Simplicity leads to greater intelligence. And the ability to bring function to more complex systems. So let's really step into that simplicity now. And if there are any questions about it, put that in the chat. Otherwise, attention at the forehead and crown. Open up into this moment. And just be 100% present with it, but released into the simplicity of it all. have to do in this moment is breathe. Let the breath be enough. Can you surrender your structures? Surrender your complexities right now. Yes, the world has waves. Can you just be a cork floating on the surface of those waves? They'll come, they'll go, and you're just given to the experience you're having. Clinging to nothing, anticipating nothing. Just right here. Right here on this edge of experience. Nothing to figure out. nothing to understand, nothing to manage. And if you can't let go in this way, isn't that strange? Isn't that something to approach in your life? Until you can. Isn't that something to show up for? Every moment you show up for in this way is complete, filled with power and endless possibility. Even the ones that your contractive narrative would deem as bad. If you show up, floating on the surface of it, so that your energetic hands are free to do whatever they need to do, whatever the moment naturally evokes from you. That's living in your power. It's the great irony of spiritual life. Yielding to powerlessness makes you powerful. Yielding control puts you actually in charge. This week, I want you to bring simplicity into everything you do.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
That means that whatever you do, you look for the underlying purpose, the simple purpose of what you're doing,
Okay.
whatever that is for you. If you're washing your dishes, maybe there's a certain orderliness or feeling that you're going for. So that's the purpose of what you're doing. And you just let it be that simple. You don't do anything else. You just focus on washing the dishes and creating that orderliness. If you're writing something, it's whatever point you're trying to get across, and you just let the point be present on the screen of your mind, and you write. And you don't let the space get filled with 10 other side hustles. When I sit down and speak to you in a class, I let go of everything else I was doing that day, and I just speak to you. And I just let it be that simple. And so what flows every time for decades is some teaching, usually something that one or more than one of you need to hear. This is where your power is. If there's something you want to manifest in your life, write down the steps to get it, and then walk those steps from the underlying simplicity of why you're doing it. And don't create a million other scenarios for why it is or isn't going to happen. Just show up and walk the steps with focus and simplicity. But more than that, the majority of your day should be directionless. In between every one of those steps, just be a cork floating on the surface of the water. Return to that as often as you can, because if you don't, that little added complexity of manifestation will slowly become more and more complex, and it'll take you over, and your power will get choked off again. Okay, Suki is asking, does absolutely everything have a simple aspect to it if we can just see it, or are some things actually complex? The underlying purpose of any complex thing is simple. There may be many steps and concurrent actions and many people that need to be put in place for something to occur, and that can feel very complex. You know, for example, I am still running these guidelines. I have several guidelines, and each of those guidelines has at least 6 to 10 people on it. And each guideline has 4 different panels of people on top of that. And I'm in charge of all of those things. But those are all separate things that are part of one big whole. If you put that whole structure on one piece of paper and then decide what parts of it need to be addressed today, you're only addressing maybe 3 different things. And what's your purpose in addressing those things? Yesterday I had to take something someone had written for one of the guidelines, and I basically had to kind of try and mentor them a little bit in their writing. So that involved sitting down. First, the purpose was trying to understand why it was not good. What was actually feeling incorrect about it. Then once that was there, it was making a video, going through and editing that and distilling it into clear rules of writing for that particular person. Arguably a very complex process that has grown out of years and years and years of training, but the moment itself was pretty simple. Now, how that was received by the person might not have felt very simple. That can be very triggering to have your work criticized. But that is not something that I carried into today. I did it, I checked it off my list, I sent it out, and then shifted to the next thing. Okay, I'm a cork floating on a wave, so I'm not still hanging on to the wave that just passed. I'm on the new wave, and the waves can be choppy or the waves can be smooth. But you can always take the messiest wave, and you know what? You're only ever on one little square millimeter of it. And so you just deal with that square millimeter of the wave. It's one of those things you have to actually play with, we can get it intellectually, but this week I want you to step into it. All right? Actually float and step into that experience. Teach yourself. Teach your body what that feels like. The more you do that, the easier things will feel. Unfortunately, the more you do that, the more you can handle complexity, and so you might find yourself taking on more things than you should. But there's stuff to learn from that too. Someday you'll retire, and because you had to stay centered and focused with so much insanity, what's on your plate when things slow down will feel like nothing. Any more questions about any of that before we end for the night? Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming. I will be here next Thursday, and I hope you all have a great week.
Thanks, Liam.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.